5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. The issue before the court is a grave and serious violation of an individual's fundamental rights guaranteed under the Constitution. The applicant has approached this honorable court seeking redress against the unlawful actions of certain authorities that have resulted in the infringement of their basic human rights. The case at hand revolves around the unlawful detention and denial of personal liberty, as well as the failure of the concerned authorities to adhere to due process established by law. On a particular date, the applicant was detained without any formal charges being filed or a warrant issued for their arrest. The detention took place in an arbitrary and unlawful manner, and the individual was not informed of the reasons for their detention, nor were they provided an opportunity to consult legal counsel. These actions clearly violate the constitutional protection against arbitrary arrest and detention. The applicant was not presented before a magistrate within the stipulated time frame, which is a direct violation of the procedural safeguards that are in place to protect individuals from unlawful confinement. It is pertinent to note that the applicant had been peacefully exercising their right to freedom of expression, which is an inherent right under the Constitution. The actions of the authorities are a clear overreach aimed at suppressing the free speech of individuals who wish to express dissent or criticism against the government or its policies. This is a direct attack on the very essence of democracy, where the right to speak freely is a cornerstone of the system of governance. Moreover, the conditions of the detention facility where the applicant was held have raised significant concerns. The facility lacked basic amenities, such as access to proper sanitation, clean drinking water, and adequate food. The applicant was also subjected to inhuman and degrading treatment, which further compounded the violation of their dignity and respect as a human being. These conditions are unacceptable and not only infringe upon the applicant's fundamental right to life and liberty but also violate the prohibition against cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. The authorities have failed to provide any justification for the detention of the applicant, and no steps were taken to ensure that the detention was lawful. The detention was not only arbitrary but was carried out in a manner that was disproportionate to any alleged wrongdoing, thereby violating the principle of proportionality, which is a key aspect of the protection of fundamental rights. In light of these facts, it is the applicant's contention that their constitutional rights have been blatantly violated by the unlawful detention, denial of due process, and the cruel conditions of confinement. The applicant has sought immediate relief in the form of their release from detention and compensation for the emotional and psychological harm they have suffered. The applicant has also sought an order for an investigation into the conduct of the authorities involved in this unlawful action. The applicant further contends that such violations not only impact the individual but also undermine the rule of law and the principles of justice that are foundational to the state. The actions of the authorities in this matter create a dangerous precedent and pose a threat to the larger community as they contribute to a climate of fear and oppression. If such actions are allowed to go unchecked, they may embolden other authorities to similarly violate individuals' rights without any fear of accountability. In their plea before this honorable court, the applicant has highlighted the failure of the authorities to act in accordance with the law, the lack of transparency in their actions, and the disregard for basic human dignity. The applicant has urged the court to examine the facts of the case with the utmost seriousness and to take decisive action to ensure that such violations do not recur in the future. It is essential for the court to consider the broader implications of this case and the potential consequences for the protection of fundamental rights in the jurisdiction. The failure to provide adequate safeguards against the abuse of power can lead to the erosion of public trust in the system and the rule of law. It is therefore imperative that the court send a strong message to the authorities that violations of fundamental rights will not be tolerated under any circumstances. In addition to the immediate relief sought by the applicant, it is also necessary to ensure that systemic reforms are implemented to prevent the recurrence of such violations. This includes measures to ensure that individuals who are detained are treated with dignity and respect, and that due process is followed in every case. It is further necessary to establish mechanisms for the oversight of detention facilities to ensure that conditions meet basic standards and that detainees are not subjected to inhuman or degrading treatment. The importance of protecting the right to personal liberty cannot be overstated. The right to freedom from arbitrary detention and the right to access legal counsel are fundamental to the protection of human rights and the maintenance of the rule of law. When these rights are violated, it not only harms the individual affected but also undermines the integrity of the legal and judicial system as a whole. It is, therefore, incumbent upon the judiciary to uphold these rights and to take swift and effective action in cases of violation. The applicant has also raised concerns regarding the lack of accountability of those in power. The applicant contends that the failure to hold the responsible authorities accountable for their actions emboldens them to repeat similar violations in the future. This creates a dangerous cycle where fundamental rights are routinely disregarded and individuals suffer without any meaningful recourse. The applicant has therefore called for a thorough investigation into the conduct of the authorities, as well as measures to ensure that such violations do not occur in the future. In conclusion, the violation of the applicant's fundamental rights constitutes a serious and flagrant disregard for the protections afforded under the Constitution. Stop.